They say every long marriage carries 1,000 little secrets, but you never expect one of them to destroy everything you've built. When you've shared a home, a bed, a heartbeat with someone for 20 years, you start believing you know every corner of their soul. That's what I believed too. Until one ordinary morning, a small sound, that dull click of a phone locking, changed my life forever. My name is Grace. I was 48 when it happened. My husband, Anthony, and I had been married for 22 years. He was my best friend, my comfort, and the man I thought I'd grow old with. We weren't perfect, no couple is. We had our disagreements, mostly about his work. Anthony was a real estate agent, always glued to his phone. Calls, clients, texts, emails. His phone was practically a part of his body. Still, I trusted him completely. Until one night while we were watching a movie together, his phone buzzed. I reached out to hand it to him, and the screen flashed a message. New password required. He grabbed it quickly, laughed nervously, and said, "Oh, it's just a work thing, company policy." I nodded. I didn't think much of it then. But later that week, I noticed something else. He started taking his phone everywhere, to the shower, to the kitchen, even out to the mailbox. And when I'd walk into the room, he'd quickly lock it, tuck it away, and smile that too smooth smile that never reached his eyes. Marriage doesn't fall apart overnight. It unravels in whispers, glances, silences. The distance started small. Missed dinners, late nights, quiet car rides. I remember one Sunday morning vividly. I was cooking pancakes, and I heard him on the phone in the backyard. His tone was soft, tender, not businesslike. Then I heard him laugh, that deep, warm laugh that used to be mine. When I stepped outside, he hung up instantly. "Just a client," he said, forcing a grin. But that grin, it didn't match his eyes. That was the first time I felt my chest tighten, a feeling that something wasn't right. A woman always knows. We may not have proof, but our intuition rarely lies. A few nights later, he fell asleep early, his phone still in his hand. For the first time in our marriage, I felt the urge to check it. But when I tried, the screen flashed, "Enter password." I froze. It wasn't the old one, the one we both knew. He had changed it. I stared at that screen for a long time, my hands shaking. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was scared. Scared of what that simple password meant. From that day, I started noticing everything. The way he'd smile at his phone before bed, the sudden bursts of work dinners, the new cologne, and then the biggest red flag. He started leaving early for showings, but came back smelling like a woman's perfume. Not the kind I wore, something younger, floral, sweet. I asked him once, "You been around someone who wears that scent?" He shrugged and said, "Maybe one of my clients sprayed too much perfume." He laughed it off. But inside, I could feel my world shifting. It was a Thursday night. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every detail, the calls, the perfume, the lies. Finally, I decided to stop wondering and find out. He was sleeping. His phone was charging on the nightstand. I picked it up, my hands trembling. I tried our anniversary date. Wrong. Our daughter's birthday. Wrong. My birthday. Wrong. My heart sank. And then, just as I was about to give up, I noticed something on the screen. A notification that hadn't cleared. It was a message preview from a name I didn't recognize. Monica. Heart. and the words burned into me like fire. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Miss your touch already. I dropped the phone. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him awake. But instead, I walked into the bathroom, locked the door, and cried until the sun came up. The next morning, I didn't make breakfast. He noticed the silence immediately. "You okay, Grace?" "Who's Monica?" I asked quietly. He froze completely. He didn't ask, "Who, Monica?" He didn't say, "Who are you talking about?" He just froze, and that told me everything I needed to know. He sat down, his hands over his face, and whispered, "It's not what you think." But I'd heard that line 100 times in movies, and every time it meant exactly what I thought. Tears rolled down my face. "After 22 years, Anthony, you couldn't even be honest?" He tried to explain, said it was a mistake, that he didn't mean to hurt me, that it just happened, that he was lonely, that I'd been distant. I wanted to believe him, God knows I did, but the truth was simple. If he'd felt lonely, he could have talked to me. Instead, he locked me out with a password. The next few weeks were a blur. He moved out for a while. I told our daughter he was staying with a friend. But inside, I was breaking. Every corner of the house reminded me of him. His mug on the table, his slippers by the bed, his cologne on the pillow. I started writing in a journal, pouring out my anger, my confusion, my grief. Some nights, I'd sit by the window watching the city lights flicker, wondering how love could turn into a stranger's face so fast. After 3 months of counseling and tears, I made a decision. Not out of anger, not even out of revenge, but out of self-respect. I filed for separation. The day he signed those papers, he cried. I cried too. Because despite everything, the betrayal, the lies, I had loved him once, truly. But love without trust is like a home without a foundation. It collapses eventually. It's been 2 years now. I live alone in a smaller home, filled with plants, books, and quiet peace. Sometimes I still think of him, not with hatred, just with a soft ache of what used to be. But I've learned something important. When someone hides their phone, what they're really hiding is a part of their soul. And when they change the password, they're not just locking the screen, they're locking you out of their life. If you're listening to this and you felt that same ache, that sudden distance from the person you love, listen carefully. Don't ignore the signs your heart whispers to you. You can't fix someone who's already chosen to break your trust, but you can rebuild yourself. And that's the most powerful kind of healing there is. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it, because sometimes healing begins with knowing you're not alone. This is Grace, and you've been listening to Voices of Auntie Grace. Come back tomorrow for another story straight from the heart.